The first question I had to ask was, is Nicki Minaj okay? And I asked that with love. And I mean this, for the last few weeks, I've watched Nicki tweet about Rock Nation,
Mhm.
sort of taking almost a page out of Tory Lane's dad's book. It Will Crumble. I've seen accusations. I've seen her come after Desiree Perez. I'm not getting into the who's right and who's wrong of it. I don't know enough about anybody's business to have an opinion on that. But I'm watching Nicki's behavior online, and it seems, in some ways, not completely out of step, but in some ways, uncharacteristic. Just seems to be she seems to be unraveling a little bit. My fear is that she's unraveling on Twitter. Now, it could just be, as somebody told me today, she got new information. She's just using her voice. She's not afraid of the big dragons of mainstream media anymore, so she ain't gotta be polite. Other people are saying, nah, this ain't right. Have y'all noticed it? Have you seen anything, Jameer? You're in these social media streets. What do you see?
I don't know if it's necessarily uncharacteristic though, like of Nicki. I mean, I've seen her on X specifically, like engaged in conversations like this and kind of like spiraling, but it's been for like a few years though. So uncharacteristic, I don't really know about that. But is she okay? I don't really know about that. I don't know her personal business, but um, this seems consistent along the lines of like patterns that I've seen before. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I've kind of seen some of this story play out before.
I've seen some of it play out before too, and Treva, I try to be mindful of how we talk about, particularly women artists, because we often set double standards in response to their behavior, in response to how we think and talk about their actions. And honestly, there are men who've done far more. We talk about, we can look at Kanye and those people, but I hold Nicki to a higher standard, a higher moral standard, a higher talent standard as an MC, a lot of things. So, this is coming from a place of love. But I'm like, is she becoming staunchly pro Cocoa Puffs?
So I'm going to avoid offering any kind of clinical diagnosis that I'm unqualified to do to talk about whether she is okay or not. I think the behavior that we're seeing is not okay. And I think it's deeply troubling. I think that we have seen this in various forms before over the last few years that has kind of looked like an unraveling on social media, on Twitter, now X. We've seen these kind of vicious attacks and like long posts that you kind of parse through. And it's someone who's so good with words, right? So there's this part of this that makes it like this disconnect between the coherence and cogency that we're used to from someone as talented as she is as an MC, to these posts, which are all over the place, hard to decipher, usually full of incredible vitriol, often at other women. Although, again, in the last week, there's been more directed, of course, at Jay-Z, given her more recent allegations about what happened with her and Tidal, etc. But I just see a person whose career early on I was such a big supporter of, and I've just seen what I've witnessed on some level, this really nasty mean girl behavior. And I want to couch that in the ways that we talk about that within the framework of like misogyny and understanding the ways that women are pitted against each other, all of that. But I've just seen really mean girl behavior from her, and really just antagonisms that feel unwarranted, not beefs, not back and forths, not just battles, but real antagonisms that seem to go from somewhere. And when we saw this, I guess now a year ago or however long ago it was, where there was the kind of social media dust up between her and Meg Thee Stallion, it was like a 72-hour ongoing thing of posts and talking and Queen Radio.
Yes, it felt almost manic to me. I mean, again, let me not use the clinical language.
Right.
It felt like a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and we've heard everything from drug usage, for people being like, can we get her some better booger sugar? I don't know. But like, there's something happening that feels really just unhealthy and unwell, whatever that means. And as like a sister, I want her to get whatever she needs to be healthier and in a better place. But I also I can't evade the accountability that is here for like just the negativity that's there, which doesn't mean she might not have been treated unfairly by Jay-Z. I'm not making any claim.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm not making
something about the approach of it.
But I am saying like there just seems to be these unravelings around all of these other artists, and particularly artists who have a certain level of visibility at different points, at different critical moments in their careers, that makes it feel something's off. And
Boxy Brown, 6900 said we shouldn't take people like Nicki seriously. At the end of the day, she's a pop star. That's stupid. We should take her seriously, or at least we should not take somebody seriously because they're a pop star. That's ridiculous. Defund the police and the fact that Mark gives any time to this celebrity gossip drama BS is very sad. You know, I hear you. I disagree. I think it's important to give time to this. I think it speaks to bigger issues in our society. And you know, for some folks,
talking about wellness, right? We're talking about whether this person is okay, and we can sit here and talk about these parasocial relationships that we have with celebrities and that we map that out. But how do we talk about folks in our own lives who we see going down paths that are really antagonistic and unhealthy and unwell? And I think there's a way that we respond to these social media moments, of course, with some level of interest and like intrigue that comes with celebrity. We live in a culture that does that. But we're also talking about like, what do we do with this? What do we do when we see someone who we care for? And in certain people, I'm talking about whether that's her fans or just like as a Black woman, like seeming to spiral in ways that feels unhealthy and unproductive. How do we hold space for caring for her while also being like, this is not okay, right? How do we hold those things simultaneously? So recognize that someone can be harmful and that they may in fact be in danger. Like those two things are coexistent realities, I think, here for Nicki. And that's my most generous read, because really I'm like, what in the world is going on?